Welcome back to another edition of the Walker Valley Football Coaches Show with head coach Drew Akins. I'm Andy Morris along with my co-host Jacob Mason. We're sponsored all season long by Wholesale Supply Group. They're open to the public. Coach, coming off of homecoming week last week, a region win over Ooltewah, 35-0. Looking into another region game this week against Rhea County. So once again, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time. We know we're having to kind of work around a little bit of weather and practice times and stuff right now to have you with us. So glad you can be here.
Yeah, always glad to be here. Always glad to talk about previous week and the upcoming week. This has been something, obviously, for 5 years now. We've kind of grown this thing to a pretty cool little show. So really appreciate you guys having me. Fun week last week, obviously, with homecoming throughout the week. I thought our students were unbelievable throughout the week. When you looked at social media, we were just talking about before we went on, just the social media presence that we've had here recently with the T-Mobile push and all the things going on with that. Hopefully we find something out here in the next couple weeks about what's going on with that. But regardless, whether we win or lose that, man, our students did an unbelievable job buying into that, posting about it, showing what they were doing for homecoming, showing what makes Walker Valley Nights special. And then obviously the game, I told our guys throughout the week, our job on homecoming, with all these festivities, and we're always looking to enjoy those things, but ultimately the job is to go win the game. With it being a region opponent and us starting out the region play, with a homecoming week is always kind of puts you on edge. But I thought our guys played really well and really dominated the football game throughout. It was never really in doubt, after that first score. We had that little lull offensively, but defensively I thought we were dominant throughout the game, and you saw that with some of the stats coming out of the game that night.
Yeah, you brought up the defense, Coach. I mean, again, another dominant performance, a wing party. It's exciting for the guys. Just kind of talk about some guys that stood out to you last week that really made an impact on the game.
Yeah, first of all, anytime you have 22 rushes for 30 yards, your D-line's probably playing really well. So I thought up front we played really well throughout the night. Put them in some long yardage, long down and distance situations. We were able to go attack the quarterback and get our hands on the ball in secondary. We had the 2 interceptions with Malachi Nunez and Spencer McCooch each having 1. Even the third down and long was a screen pass, made a great hit and dislodged the football, got a fumble recovery. Jack Shantz fell in the fumble recovery. So getting turnovers is a huge part of what we've been doing. We're finally getting into the plus on the year. So really excited about that. But, defensively, when you look at it as a whole, you give up 30 yards on the ground and 59 through the air. You hold a team under 100 yards. Your defense played really well. So thought throughout the night they were very focused, played with great effort. We're going to have to ratchet that up a little bit, because we got another region opponent coming in, a region opponent that I think is playing really well. You saw that last week with their score against Cleveland. So we've got to make sure that we even take it up a notch. We've talked about it for 2 weeks. I think I talked about it on the show last week. We're playing against a standard right now. We've kind of set a standard here about how we do things, and it encompasses our 5 words that we kind of live by with discipline, commitment, toughness, effort, and pride. And when you look at our effort, we're really close to the standard, but I'm not sure we met the standard fully. So that's something that we've been talking about defensively, making sure that we play with a relentless effort every single snap, that we don't get lazy. I think if we do that on defense, we got an opportunity to be a really good defense as a group.
Absolutely. On a more lighthearted note, I'm going to put you on the spot. I've been thinking about this with the wing party. We had this discussion on Friday. So I'll buy 10 wings. I'll bring them up. If I eat 10 wings before your defensive line eats 5, I'm invited to the party
for any party.
But if I lose, I will buy the starting 4 defensive linemen wings the next shutout.
Man, that's a bold statement there. We're going to do it.
It's a trap.
We're turning it into an eating competition. I told you I'd give you 2 flats.
Hey, well, that's right. Hey, I'm just saying.
You're just trying to get more.
We can take a video of it. We can post it on social media. We can make it a fun little thing.
Absolutely. Well, I'm always down, man. It's obviously Y'all been such a huge part of what we've done over the last 4 or 5 years. So come on, man. Y'all are always welcome. So really excited to be able to host a wing party. It's always, I don't care who you play, what you do. Anytime you get a 0 on the scoreboard is a big deal. And, talk about playing. I mean, we played 25 kids on defense the other night. So being able to play our young guys, our twos, getting that many reps and still holding a 0, that speaks a lot to the preparation by our defensive staff throughout the week, and the young guys being prepared to go in there and hold that 0. So we look forward to that on Thursday, and y'all are more than welcome to come up and have a wing or two.
Coach, going over to the offensive side of the ball, in a game that you control like that, 35-0, one thing that most coaches like to see is success, both running the football and throwing the football, and you did exactly that. Couple touchdowns on the ground from Javen Hall. Also, Dawson Stum threw for a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, listen, was really excited about our offensive performance except for about 4 straight plays. We had the 4 straight plays where we went penalty, didn't catch the snap, fumble on what should have been a touchdown, and then interception. That was a back-to-back set of plays there. But other than those 4 plays, really thought we played well. And Javen kind of sparked us energy-wise. When we talk about, again, that relentless effort that we're trying to get out of our kids, I thought Javen kind of sparked that with the kid that he used great technique. When you watch it, it's exactly what we're coaching. Right foot, right shoulder into the safety. It was an unblocked hat. We talked about that unblocked hat throughout the week. We got a good right foot, right shoulder. He broke out to the left. Very next play, we got both of these plays on film that I'm really excited to show you guys. But O-line absolutely blocks power perfectly. We hit A-gap and able to really break through for a 35-yard touchdown. That kind of sparked us in the second quarter. We go on to score 21 points in the third quarter and in the second quarter and go into halftime pretty comfortable. But really, you look at those 4 plays, and again, if we're playing against a standard, we're not playing against an opponent. Playing against that standard, you can't take those 4 plays off because those 4 plays in a close game could be what determines win or lose. But ultimately, the throw by Dawson in the second half was unbelievable. Another play that we have for our second segment. Great timing, great ball. Hudson getting in the end zone was really good to see. And, I think he's been pressing throughout the year, he had such a huge year last year. He's battled through some injuries this year. So for him to be able to get that monkey off his back and get in the end zone, that's a big deal. And I hope it kind of propels him into the second half of the year. But then you got Javen scoring 2 on the ground. You got Spencer scoring 1 on the ground. Just thought as a team we played really well, saved those 4 plays, and now we can say, hey, let's put a perfect game together, and that's kind of been our message throughout this week.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and we can't go a show without mentioning the Flow Show, the big guys up front, as we call them, the Flow Show. Consistently, it seems like each week they're improving, and obviously the running backs are benefiting from that.
Yeah, we challenged those guys after Cleveland. We really didn't play well. When you go back and watch Cleveland, we were 39% in the run game, and that's just not going to hold up. When you look at what we need out of those guys, 39% run blocking is well below what our expectation is for that group. So since that game, they've really committed to locking in more, being more focused. They've had better practices throughout the weeks, and it's shown up, on Friday nights. They're meeting with Coach Braun more often. They're talking through the scheme, all the things that we need to do to make sure that we're successful. We're going to have to make sure that we play up front really well this Friday. But they have committed to that. It's something where really they took that loss personal because it was such a poor showing by us up front. So, since that game, they've really taken a step forward and it's one of those things where you have a bad outing and you can wallow in it and you can, look back on it and say you wish you would have done something different, or you can move forward. And I think they've done a good job of just pressing forward, making sure that every game through this point that they're focused in and they understand their assignments. And they've done the reps, and hopefully that continues to show up. We've got to continue to get better on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That's where our strength is. That's where we're going to rely on. But that doesn't mean that we're good enough right now. So we've got to continue to press that throughout the year.
Coach, you were talking about the offensive line play. I know a stat that's important to you is explosive runs. Kind of talk about that. How do you feel like the team has been doing? I know last week we had a few big ones. How do you think they've been doing in that category so far?
Yeah, so we went 2 years really with very, very few explosive runs, and we've kind of started talking about with this new scheme that we do with power. We went to pull as much film from North Dakota State as we could possibly pull. We went and bought clinics. We went and did so many things studying North Dakota State. And last year even, we were looking at it and we're like, man, we're just not getting that explosive A-gap run that like you break through and there's nothing in the middle and you get this 88 out the gate is kind of what the saying always was. We really weren't getting that still last year. I think you've seen a year 2 within a scheme. It sounds weird. I'm in year 6, but really we're in year 2 of this scheme. Because we installed it last year. This group of linemen, pretty much all of them played last year except for Lassen. So they're in year 2 of doing this footwork, doing this technique, and I think it's starting to show up. We've had some big time runs this year, but it's not even the big 60-yard run. And, I think Javen's had a 59 or close to a 60-yard run. It's the 12, it's the 18, it's the 35. Those are the runs that we've been looking for. It's been really cool to see, and like you said, the running backs have been a beneficiary of that initial burst, and I think they're starting to get better at. Now we're breaking second level and third level tackles to take those 18 to 20-yard runs and turn them into 50, 60-yard runs. So that's been really cool to see the progression. But really, when it's as clean as it was on Friday, which I'm going to show you on film, it makes it hard not to go score on some of these. So really proud of our guys for continuing to get better, continuing to understand the scheme, and continue to work through their technique. And like you said, it's really showing up. Over 1,000 yards rushing through 5 games for a team. Javen's close to 500 yards. Spencer's close to 400 yards. So really, we have a 2-back system right now where they're both staying rested and both able to come in throughout the game and give us explosive runs.
Coach, on behalf of all 3 of us, I want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Ethan Evers, who provides us this platform to be able to do this coaches show each week, and he's worked on some really cool graphics for us as well. We're going to look over at the region standings at the moment, and with the win, obviously, against Ooltewah last week going into Rhea County, Mustangs sitting at the top of that. So, Coach, as we look at this here, again, Mr. Evers and his AV production class here at Walker Valley, they do a great job. Obviously, us in East Hamilton, sitting at the top there, that's a game that we're going to talk about here in a couple weeks, obviously. But what is your message to your team, knowing that, listen, you're about to face a tough Rhea County team. Don't buy in too much. We're 1 game into the region. How do you relay that? Because I know the players are confident and excited about where they're at, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes back to, I sound like a broken record, but man, like we're talking about playing to a standard. We're not talking about opponents, and we did that with Ooltewah last week. We're doing it this week with Rhea County. We cannot focus on the opponent. Now we got to prepare scheme-wise. We got to prepare for what they do. We got to make sure our kids are prepared for those things. But ultimately, we've got to make sure that we get better ourselves. We get better playing to our standard, being more disciplined in everything you do. And when you look at what discipline is, it's doing your job, doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and how it's supposed to be done. Well, that encompasses a lot of stuff, guys, like doing what you're supposed to do, making sure you understand your assignment and you do your assignment. When you're supposed to do it. Hey, what play call is here? When am I supposed to do this? When am I supposed to block back? When am I supposed to do these things? And then how it's supposed to be done encompasses the technique. The technique of what needs to be done to accomplish what our assignment is. We talk through those things, and we're not perfect at it. And until you're perfect at it, you can't look at standings, and you can't look at, we're about to look at rankings. You can't look at those things and say, hey, we've arrived. We're here. We did it, because we still have a standard that we're competing against. So we talk about that literally every single day, about did we meet the standard that we said we were going to meet today? And if we don't, then it cost us. And our kids understand the cost of not meeting that standard. So really proud of our guys to start. Obviously, when you look at those region standings, it's better to be 1-0 than to not. But we've got to make sure that we still continue to focus on ourselves and what we can do to improve on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, so as we close the book on Ooltewah and get ready to progress and talk Rhea County week, you mentioned the state rankings. Those just came out. So the TSWA rankings, the Mustangs are currently number 7 in the state. That's the Tennessee Sports Writers Association. And then also in the USA Today by the Tennessean, the Mustangs are ranked number 8 in the state. So again, something that up to this point in the season, a good measuring stick to see where you're at as a team. But as to your point, it's still the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, when you look at that graphic, you're talking about a bunch of teams that have one loss. Like, what it tells me is that we're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, there's great teams across this state, and when you look at the team right below us, Knox West, they're the ones that won back-to-back, state championships. They're the ones that put us out. So if you're relying on state rankings to say, hey, we're going to win the rest of them, there's a bunch of teams right there with you. And listen, the teams in our region are in this poll too. At 13 and 14, teams in our region are there, and we still have not competed against those teams. So this is great for recognition. It's great to know that people around the state are seeing what we're doing. But if you think that this makes us arrived, then we got another thing coming. So again, just making sure that we're paying attention to us, not letting that noise affect our preparation, not letting the noise affect who we think we are. Ultimately, we go through the goods, we go through the bads, and there's still enough bads that we got to make sure that we're preparing a certain way to make sure that we can continue to press forward.
So with that, that's the end of the first segment. For those of you listening on the radio, you can catch Coach's film breakdown in the second segment of this show on the Walker Valley YouTube page, as well as the Mix 1041 WCLE YouTube page. We all encourage you. It's a cool thing that Coach Akins does with the film breakdown, so try to get on and check that out. And with that, we'll be right back. Welcome back to another edition of the Walker Valley Football Coaches Show. Along with Jacob Mason, I'm Andy Morris, Walker Valley head football coach Drew Akins. And it's the part of the show, I know it's Jacob's favorite part, it's my favorite part, probably Coach Akins' favorite part as well, but we get to do the film breakdown, which is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, listen, it's so cool to be able to do this. I know Mr. Evers getting this all hooked up. He acts like it's the easiest thing in the world. But, man, without him, we wouldn't be able to do this. But got some cool stuff to show you. Want to go through our defense. Again, because we had such a great job defensively, but then want to show you, those 2 plays by Javen, show you the vertical ball and some of these things that we kind of did throughout the game to put us in a good situation. So the third down to start the drive early in the game, they got 3rd and 10. At this point, they really hadn't crossed the line of scrimmage. They hadn't crossed the 50 to this point. So it was something that, I knew early on that we were going to be dominant with the line of scrimmages. That's what I'm watching early. I don't know what y'all are paying attention to early, but as the first 2 or 3 series, I'm always watching, hey, what's happening at the line of scrimmage? Who's dominating the line of scrimmage? Because a lot of times that'll kind of lead you through who's going to be successful throughout the game. So we had made a couple stops at this point already, 3 and outs to start the game. Y'all see we are already up 7-0 at this point. It's 3rd and 9. We do a great job as a defensive staff making sure our kids understand down and distance. And at this point, we're looking for draw, we're looking for pass, we're looking for screens. That's what we're always looking for on 3rd and long. So we identify the screen. Again, go in, make a good, hard contact here. This is Beard and Jerry Pugh both at the same time are kind of making contact on the kid. Jack Shantz, I love this, and this is kind of what we're talking about with relentless effort, right? Watch our defensive line. See the screen, feel the screen, turn and run. You got 4 defensive linemen now running after the screen. So good to see that by our D-line, and it actually turns into a great play for Jack Shantz being able to recover the fumble on that. So a really cool view here. I always like the drone view. We'll zoom in a little bit on it. But again, you're going to get DSP, so looking for drawstring pass. Right at that point, they look pretty good, right? Because they got 3 guys for our 2 linebackers. We're in a situation where we've got to go make a play. Beard does a great job of floating back inside. We make great contact. But what I love to see are these guys down here. These 4 guys that are running to the ball. They're chasing the ball, and when you chase the ball, good things happen. And you see that with the fumble recovery right there by Jack Shantz. So really proud of those guys, really proud of our defense. 3-0 on the turnover battle is huge. So our 3-2, but 3 turnovers by our defense is big. This is the next one. Our defense is rolling to cover 3. So we knew we could get extra hats over here on top of these 2 receivers. So they like throwing short stuff. So we want to attack the short area. Malachi does a great job getting to the middle of the field. And we get good pressure on the quarterback. So when we make him escape the pocket, you see Malachi drop underneath. We're in a cover 3 here, which allows Malachi to kind of be free and unseen. Great pick by him, big-time play by him. He's been such a big-time addition for us. And again, from this angle, you can see, we're going to roll down here on the strong side down to this, and we're going to play a 3-deep coverage. We do a great job of disguising that, makes the quarterback not really see what's going to happen on the back end. And Malachi's able to undercut that with the interception. And then the second interception here is Spencer. Same exact coverage. You see us come down. We're trying to attack Bubbles. Again, we've seen Bubble thrown to number 2 receiver. AB does a great job of getting down. They try to go, and Spencer's able to get across. But Jerry being on top of this is huge. If Jerry's not on top of it, that receiver's much more able to focus on the football. So Jerry being on top made that play much easier for Spencer to go make. So really proud of our guys when it comes to the interceptions and the turnovers.
Coach, while we're still talking about defense, a question I had on Friday night is, how do you prepare for so many multiple formations? They came out in things like almost like an old school wishbone, and then they went to a spread concept. As a coach, how do you prepare your guys to see multiple different things like that and make adjustments on the fly?
Well, Huddle's made it a little bit easier, honestly, when you go tag everything in Huddle, and film's so accessible nowadays. We had pretty much everything that they had done up until this point. So being able to go through and break down the film, understand percentages, how often do they like to do this, how often do they like to do that. And then our defense has done a great job for years now, starting our day out with alignment and assignment. How are we going to align to this front, and what's our assignment within that alignment? So that's something we start our day out with every single day. Here's the different formations they're going to give us. Here's how we're going to adjust to those formations, and here's what your assignment is in that formation. So that's an everyday drill, right? EDD, right? Everyday drill. We call them EDDs. That's an everyday drill for us, that we're going to line up and we're going to make sure we understand what formations they're in and how we're going to align to those things. So that's something that we meet. We meet every single day. Our defense is meeting for 35 minutes, watching the film and make sure we make corrections off practice film. So those things are big for us. I want to show both of these next ones from the drone shot. So this is our power. This is kind of the plays that ignited the run that we went on. So simple power. This is everyday power. We're going to down block to the backside backer. We're going to double team this shade. We may get a back block here because we don't feel great about this guy slanting. If he slants, we got to be able to get back to it. Our tackle is going to help that and then hinge back and handle this. The problem with this play is this hat right here. That's what we call an unblocked hat. Okay, so our running backs, we teach, hey, who's unblocked on this play? Because the guard's going to pull for the front side backer. Tate's going to handle the end. He does such a great job. Whenever we run the ball well, guys, it's because Tate Roundtree blocked well. Anytime we run the ball well, it's because Tate played really well.
We refer to it as Tate doing the dirty work.
Every single day. He has done such an unbelievable job for 2 years. He's a huge part of our offense. And when he does his job, man, a lot of times we see a ton of success up front. But Tate does a great job here. But this hat right here is running back guy. Now, I think in the past we've said BG. Have y'all ever heard me talk about BG? That's Barry's guy, right? That's what the Lions used to do. They used to scheme stuff up so that there was an unblocked hat, and they put a double team somewhere else because that's Barry's guy, and Barry's going to make him miss. Well, we're getting to the point where Javen's really coming along and able to do some of those things.
You heard it here. Coaches related him to Barry Sanders.
Well, he's coming along very well. And for him to use the technique he uses here is really impressive. So we'll run it through, and you'll see Tate, great job on that base block. Lassen does a great job on the pull, getting eyes inside. But we don't have a hat for this, right? We got a hat on this. We got a hat on that. We got a hat on this. We got hats everywhere on guys, but that's an unblocked hat. So the running back has to know, okay, unblocked hat, how am I going to attack this? Use great discipline, and I'm going to get to a right foot, right shoulder here. Boom. His right foot's hitting the ground as the right shoulder is hitting the defender, and when you do that, you have a ton of power, right? It's very similar to wrestling. When you shoot, right?
That
You're going to
penetration
shoot.
stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're shooting with a powerful stance. It's the same exact idea, just with a running back. So right foot, right shoulder, man, runs through the kid. It's a really great view here. Let's see if we can get to the view of when he's actually attacking this defender. I want to show it from this angle, though. So as we get here, we're going to go through, boom, right foot, right shoulder. That's what we're talking about. That's the technique that we've been working on now for 5, 6, 7 weeks.
And that's more Jim Brown than Barry Sanders
I know,
there.
and running through, I mean, absolutely running through. You see how much power he has in that moment. Man, just running through that kid, able to break outside and make that play. The very, very next play, my clips are out of whack. But the very, very next play, you see now we're in tempo. Hey, we want to do that again. So now we got them out of sorts. Now we got them misaligned, right? So let's go to the drone shot again. We go fast. They're misaligned now. So now the unblocked hat that was here in the middle doesn't know where to line up because they don't get the call. Now he's outside. Same exact blocking scheme. Boom, boom, and there's your hole. Kelly gets just enough on it.
It's a lot of green
We break
grass.
through and a lot of green grass. But why did that happen? Well, it happened because we attacked them. We attacked them with our right technique, and then we got them out of sorts. And when we got them out of sorts, we're able to really hit them right. And this is one of our base plays, man. This is what we do when it comes to power. So watching at full speed, you see how clean it is. They're not quite lined up. They're jumping in and out of sets, and we snap it. And great block here. Guys, this reinforcement right here by Caleb Kelly on the front side. Watch that. Boom. He clears A-gap. That's what we always talk about. Hey, clear the A-gap.
That was a good chip block before he worked his way to the backer, too.
Exactly. So we're trying to clear A-gap. So A-gap with us, A-gap's right here. That's with everyone. We're going to slow this, and I'm going to try to get this guy cleared out of A-gap. And then once I clear it, I can get to the second level. And he's able to do that very clean, boom, at that moment. There's nothing they can do. So really cool to see the technique. This is a technique you've been kind of talking about for 2 years now. This is what we were talking about in the first segment. It's cool to see our technique showing up on film, and that technique showing up leads to big-time plays. So really excited about that. We're going to have to play really good this week in order to get to where we need to be able to do the same things against Rhea County. We got a great team that we're traveling to. Obviously, we're very familiar with each other, but really excited to go there and compete in another region game. I think it's going to be a really important region game when it comes to seeding and standings, but ultimately, we've got to worry about us. And that's what we're going to continue to talk about. And as we do those things, hopefully, we continue to improve.
Coach, you talked about one word you said during the first clip that we saw Javen running the football was discipline. And a lot of people, when they hear discipline, they think, oh, just not jumping early on the snap. But when it comes to specifically the flow show and the blocking scheme, being disciplined, and you talked about knowing what your job is, those were great examples of everyone knowing where they're supposed to be and what their job is.
Yeah, using the correct technique. That's a big part of discipline. A lot of times, in my opinion, when you hear discipline, you think about disciplining your child, right? Punishing them for something they did incorrect. When we talk about discipline, we talk about doing your job, doing it the right way. Be disciplined enough to not be disciplined. Because Nick Saban always said, and I'm not an Alabama fan, but I am a Nick Saban fan. Yeah. And the things that he always said rings true Even today, when you look at, hey, you're going to either suffer the pain of discipline or the pain of defeat. Those are the only two options. So we talk about those things constantly. And discipline to us is doing your job, doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how it's supposed to be done. And if you do those things, you're going to see success show up. So really excited for our guys to be able to now show them, hey, this is everyone doing their job, and look at the success we had because of that.
Yeah, and football teaches great lessons, not just on the field, but off the field. And I think just the guys that have come back to see us on Friday nights, you can see them living that discipline in their lives now as well. So just as a whole program, Coach, you guys are doing a great job instilling that very principle in those guys.
Yeah, we're going to, like I said, we're going to have to continue that. We're going to have to be more disciplined. You know, we cannot take 4 plays off. We cannot get lazy on defense with our eyes. Those are things that we're talking about as we continue to get into this, that we've got to make sure that we're continuing to get better. But, man, it's a staple in our program because we tell our guys, you're not always going to be the most talented team on the field. You're not always going to be the most athletic team on the field. When you're not, what keeps the game close? Your discipline is what's going to keep it close. So we preach that constantly, and it's really cool when it shows up, and we're able to use that as reinforcement to make sure our guys are continuing to do the right things.
Coach, you touched on this for a second before we wrap up the show. You mentioned being familiar with their coaching staff. Head coach for Rhea County, Taylor Harvey, first-year head coach, obviously former defensive coordinator here at Walker Valley. Brandon Ashby, also at Rhea County. And then former Walker Valley head football coach, Teddy Lockerbie over there as well. So a lot of familiarity for sure with that coaching staff.
Yeah, and I Clark's there too, Clark Lockerbie, and I coached Clark when we were at Red Bank. Me and Teddy worked together at Red Bank. So a lot of overlaying layers within our two staffs. But ultimately, man, it comes down to us playing against us. And I'm excited to see those guys. I'm really proud of what Coach Harvey's done. Man, I say it a lot. He won't ever say it back, but I love him. I'm so proud of what he's done. And watching him take a program that was really downtrodden and see how hard they're playing right now speaks a lot to just his character and the way he builds relationships with kids and what he demands out of kids. So really proud of all of that. I think a lot of the familiarity actually can get us in trouble because we're so familiar with each other that we think about everything
on both ends.
Yeah, we think of everything that they can do. Oh, they've done this before. When you spend 6 years with a guy, they know everything that we can do. I know everything. So you almost overthink it a little, you know. So we're trying to make sure we say, hey, what are they showing us on film? Who are they showing us that they are? And let's make sure that we prepare for that while knowing that there's adjustments that they can make. So it should be a fun chess match when it comes to that. But ultimately, we got to go play our game. We've got to be us. We've got to make sure that we make the improvements that we need to make to be successful. And if we do that, I think we're going to be able to compete in any game that we have left, not just this one.
Yeah, Coach, so you said at Rhea County, 7 o'clock?
At Rhea County, 7 o'clock, maybe raining. As of right now, there's no talk of moving the game. I don't think there's anywhere to move the game, honestly. When you're looking at, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday rain, there's not a whole lot to go. So we may end up playing in the rain, and that's okay. We'll go over there, and we'll go a little old school football on turf and play in some rain. So it should be a fun atmosphere. Should be a fun game.
Yeah, so once again, a very tough Rhea County game. Second region game of the season. As we said, Rhea County, a huge improvement from last season. So we need the Mustang fans to come out, support, hit the road, be there for this Mustang football team, be loud. Listen, very excited about this game, not just because of the relationships, but because the meaning on the schedule of this football game. So with that, you'll be able to listen to Jacob and I on WCLE Sports 99.1. You'll also be able to catch the game on the Mix 104.1 app. Click that 99.1 link on there as well. And, Coach, appreciate your time. With that, 7 o'clock kickoff, Rhea County High School. Come out, support. Go Mustangs.